El-Amin back with you one more time. I started off today. This is my 6th video of one day. Okay, so I started off making a video to say, okay, let me make a video to show people how I'm going to begin making videos and how it's going to, kind of, move on along, and I'll show different techniques. And so here it is, a few hours later. I'm on my 6th video, and I'm making it the same day. So if you see any glimpses of my pants or anything, I have my work pants, I have on my house slippers. I'm very much at home, okay, showing different techniques. I did show one video already with my tools that explain the different tools that I'm working on my block here. You might want to go through and check some of my other videos out. I showed a video about what I'm working on here, the bricks that I'm working on, why I have this cushion here, about a cushion as far as it being, something that you're going to destroy, or something that's going to probably be destroyed, something don't love it. And I think we went over the wire sizes, and I think this wire here is 20. I'm going to be making earring hooks today out of 20 gauge. This might be 22. I don't have a label on it. I think it's 20 though, okay? I'll try to find out for later. I do have a little cold today, so I may cough once or twice. I have shown some of the different things that I made in the previous videos. Some of the wraps that I do, just sort of refreshing anyone who hasn't seen. I do the handmade bracelet, the copper. I do the heart, so I'm working with the metals of different sorts. I'm doing hand hammering. I'm also hand hammering the different spoons and the fork, bracelets and necklaces and earrings and different designs. I'm making the cuffs. I'm sorry, not the cuffs. I am making cuffs actually. Arm cuffs. Here's an arm cuff. You see, really nice design. I make everything I'm making silver, brass, as well as copper. Okay, so I use all the 3 metals, and I use German silver a lot more than just sterling silver because it's a lot less expensive. But be careful, German silver does have a small amount of nickel in it, so if you have any clients who absolutely don't want that, then you might want to let them know about that. And I'm doing the basic simple wraps. And today our tutorial is actually going to be about making earring hooks. And just real quickly, and I talked about a video about my tools, and I showed you how my tools were antiquated. With this being the same day, I still have antiquated tools, even though this is the 6th video. But with those tools, I'm allowed to show you how I'm able to produce things that I know a lot of times you see videos and some people have very sophisticated tools. I also, in addition to the video showing you what I'm hammering on, the different wiring size, I showed you how to bend, right, metal, how to bend and hammer. And this was the example that we came up with. So we're going to go ahead and make an earring hook that's going to work with this, okay? This is probably something that I could have in my collection as an abstract piece, you know what I mean, a pair of these, something like that, but most likely wouldn't be a pair that I would remake over and over again to try to mass sell, although it is a nice design, I like it. It's something that I did in the video to show how you make things just quickly through inspiration. So we're going to be working with this wire here, which is about 20 gauge. And before I even start, let me just give you a quick idea. And ladies, you know what I'm saying? I'm a man. I don't wear earrings. I don't even hardly wear any jewelry. I don't know how I end up even making jewelry. But in general, the earring hook is going to be something that goes in your hair that has a bend. Usually at the end, it has a little curve like that. So you see I'm doing this with my hand. We could very well take this, make this piece right here. I could slide a bead right here, right? And we could just make a small base, a looped base like this at the end, and this earring would be an earring with the hook already on it contained, right? And there's some techniques I'm going to show you here. That would be a long hook. If you want a short hook, we're talking about the same thing, okay? You can make one tailored for your ear. You can make one tailored for a client who has an ear like of any size, basically. And with the wire, once you start kind of messing up a little bit, you can easily, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. You can easily, instead of hammering that back out just for speed, say come and snip that, okay? And when I snip, I also realize that as soon as I snip that, I get a very sharp, I get a very sharp edge here, okay? I get a sharp edge there. And I showed in the video earlier how when we have an edge like that, we want to come back and immediately hit that with the file, okay? that's something that you want to file. All right, and I am still going to do a filing tutorial to kind of show how that works, because this is going into the ear, so we want it to be smooth when that happens. Okay, and on this back side of the file is where a lot of that smooth action happens. All right. So I showed you just a second ago how you can just almost do it with your fingers and make a shape. But what we're going to do is to make a regular size earring. And once again, this is an inspirational piece. The dimensions here, I don't have a ruler, and for this to be a tutorial, I'm sorry, I should have a ruler here, but let's snip off about 3 inches. Okay. All right, let's do it. It doesn't really matter, because when you make the earring, you're going to be making it with your own ingenuity anyway, and I'm not really sure what your ultimate design concept will be. But one thing about almost all earrings is that we're going to have a loop at the bottom. All right, the loop at the bottom is going to secure, all right, the base here. All right, so to get that, we want to just go with the round nose plier. Okay, and I don't know all the terminology for each little part, and that's where I'm an amateur, you know, admittedly an amateur jewelry maker who happens to sell a lot of stuff that sells. So I consider I'm an amateur professional, and I'm pretty decent at what I do. All right, so the first part is going to be just to make that loop there. Okay, and just you can really hold the tool still, right? Hold the tool still itself, and just bend the wire. So if I just hold this tool still just like this, and I bend the wire here, I'm getting the same position. I want to get this wire bent to the position so that this is making a cross section a T. Okay, now I do a lot of work with my fingers, but I'm sure that some people at this point would use what would be considered a flat nose tool with no serrated edges. But as you see, this is 20 gauge wire. I'm able to kind of, on that first loop, kind of do it with my finger. Now if you want to, what you can do is I would take flat nose pliers of a sort, and we talked about tools in one of my other videos. Okay, and this is a pair that I happen to have on hand, and I'm just going to snug that down and wrap that around again one more time. Okay, and I can do that with my finger. Give that my finger as a guide. And here also too, as I'm doing it, I want to make sure that my wires stay nice and close together, right? I want to make them stay close, because that's part of the professional look. You can't have a professional look, a wire that you can sell, and the loops are running all kind of wild. And you don't want to have too many loops necessarily, unless that's the design. I mean, you can actually have a design that's basically about a bunch of loops. Now check this out. Here you can use the flat nose snips with the nylon that you will hear a lot of people use. And in my case, I just use a serrated, even though this is a no-no and a taboo for most. I don't have a problem using serrated edges, because I once again don't sell jewelry that has serrated. I do a little filing at the end, and I use the serrated edge after so long, kind of like a gentle, like a shark wouldn't just bite into a shark baby, I guess. But you know, I mean, you know, there's teeth here, but you gotta kind of know how to use them, though. You know, okay? You don't have to do damage. I'm sure that a lion doesn't just bite through its cub. You know what I'm saying? Every time it picks them up. Okay? So we kind of got to think about it the same way. You have to use the serrated edges gently, but the serrated edges actually give you a little more power. Okay? And then also you have to figure out, what am I using a serrated edge on? I say serrated, that might be the wrong word. Rough. Let's use the word rough. The pliers with the grip. Okay? Serrated sounds like Hannibal Lecter or something like that here. Alright, so as you kind of see how I'm kind of working that out, nice and smooth. Now, when this part is complete, what you have is a straight line, right? And you have a loop here. Now, in order to make the loop clean, professional as possible, what I normally do is I go back in with my round nose and I round it out. Because the rounder it is, the more professional it looks, the higher price you're going to get for your item. Period. Okay? This edge here, I know I came down with this edge just as clearly still a serrated type edge. I mean, this edge here has been, you know, clipped earlier, so this is going to need to be filed, right? You're going to want to file. All right, bam. Let me show you another quick tool too that you can use with the flat nose of any type. The flat nose plier of any type can be used to modify and change with pressure the angle of the point sticking out of the tip, so that the angle is more flushed into the wire and it becomes smoother. And this tool is almost actually acting like a file to a degree. And while you're doing it at the time, you have to also make sure that for the professionalism and the cleanness of it, you want to make sure that your wire stays closed and tight like that, okay? There was also a move that I could have done before just to prepare my wire. I'm going to do a different video on preparing your wire prior to making a piece like this, but I would actually go over this wire with soft steel wool, and I would relace all the tarnish, any kind of oxidation. I would, you know, just rub that off. But here I'm using this pliers once again to go in the direction of the earring hook, and watch that, watch that, watch that. It feels good. And really, I'm going over with my finger. There's nothing happening there. I've almost done what the file would do. Then I will come back with the file, though, still on top of that, and I'd come in and I go in one direction. With the file, I want to go in one direction, okay? You don't want to go in two directions in a case like this. Sometimes I get lazy and I go in both directions. I don't care as much, but in this case, you want to go in one direction because you don't want to pull it back up. And then also, you want to use, at this rate, a file. You don't want to use the really rough portion of the file. You want to use a portion of the file that's going to smooth, right? That means that it's going to be the less abrasive portion of the file versus the more abrasive portion, okay? Yeah, so that's the bottom of that earring. So hypothetically, we would, you know, kind of set it in there like that. I'm going to show you how to get that back open. But that's the base part of it, okay? Now, if this was a shorter earring, say about this long, we can decide to make a long earring hook if we decided to, okay? You can make a long earring hook like that, right? We can do what we want to do as far as the earring hook. I'm just showing you what you can do. And then, ladies, you all know, you put that in the air, it hangs down. That would be a really long earring, you know what I mean? Then also, too, you want to give it a little look, a little texture. It's all about how you bend and where you bend. You know, take a snapshot of that. You know what I mean? It's all about where you want. I can't really tell you exactly what kind of, how you want your earring. But what I can say is if you want it shorter, you can go ahead. And a lot of times, why not just take a pair of a hook like this right here? This is a pre-made hook I use mostly. I don't make a lot of hooks. I'm just doing it for the tutorial. And I just want to shape it after that hook. You know, I'm going to get it as much as I can. And guess what that's going to take? Practice. I can't really teach you how to do it in a tutorial. You have to have practice, but I'm going to show you a quick tip, though. I'm going to show you a quick tip. And that quick tip is like, oh, sure, you can rock it long like that. That would be fantastic. Rock out. However, a quick tip right here is just going to be to snip that part off. Okay? And you have to choose where you want to snip it off. I'm going to snip it off right there for right now. Okay? Where I started. I don't know why. I'm a man. Who cares? I'm not going to wear it. I'm just doing it to show you how to make this tutorial. But then you want to come back, and I'm going to do a tutorial once again on filing. But when you file, you want to make sure you go around and file all sides. First with the rougher side of the file, right? And you want to make sure that when someone puts this in his ear, it doesn't stab them. Okay, and the only way you can really tell that at the end is, you know, scratching it across your skin, rubbing it across your finger, having someone else kind of rub it a little bit, but you don't need anyone else after a while. You can tell yourself. And then also, no matter how much you file it, something with this level of point, when you're putting an earring hook in, individuals have to be slightly careful anyway, okay? So, and I'm going to show you something real quick here. Now look at that. And I could have done many things. I mean, this is just, I could have done something. I'm going to come back and I see, yeah, that's looking pretty good there. And that, you know, I would probably come back in myself and file that down a little bit more. Just make it pretty right there. Right? So then you get something real close to what's on the market already, but it has a handmade original look. your own design. You can make it whatever size you want. And if you want to see these these loops right here, these loops are actually artificially put on earrings like this right here. Okay, these are artificially put on here to give the design. So we could have taken this wire and wrapped it even further up. Okay, and that will give you these loops right here on the French wire. So we could take extra wire instead of clipping that wire off so small right here. We could have left more wire on, okay, and wrapped it up a little bit higher, and that would have given us the same look. And even there's little balls you can buy. You could buy that whole kit, and before you even start the wrap, right, you can slide the ball on. But that's a whole nother video. Putting this on here, all right. If this is already a closed system. And earlier when I hammered this earring, if you saw the earlier tutorial on how to bend wire and make an earring, I normally wouldn't hammer this portion up here this flat. Okay, only this base here. I don't need this to be hammered. This could still stay kind of round. But since it is hammered already, I'm going to go ahead and open it up like this way. So I'm going to use my thumb, and I'm going to do counter pressure, pressing my thumb down, leaving the snips, leaving the tool exactly where it is. Okay, once it's in that position, I make sure that if I want this design here to be on the outside, which I do because it's where the work is, I'm going to put my earring hook on the inside. Okay, and once I put my earring hook on the inside like that right there, all right, bam, now you have a complete earring with an earring hook made for you, right? Total custom design. And I can control my designs. I can make any design. I can make an alphabet. I can make whatever I want. But for the sake of this video and tutorial, I would just make it a real quick piece. Thanks again, Aaron El-Amin, Elements Design, ELAMENTS, Elements Design on Facebook. Please friend me there. And Elements Design, follow me please on Instagram. Thank you so much. Please subscribe. I have so many more tutorials coming up, and we're going to be talking about how to do so many things, and I hope you enjoyed this. And as you saw, there's so many different ways that we could have made this hook. You know what I mean? It's just there's no end to the funkiness of it. And one last thing on the hook, the last thing that you have to do on any hook, right, is, let's get it back here, because there was one step I kind of forgot. I'm sorry about that. All right, so let's get it back. Anyway, you saw how cute it was earlier, even though I've destroyed the hook. You know what I mean? I've destroyed the hook. But here's the point, though. 1 second. You saw how flimsy that was, how movable it was. I forgot to show you the last move that makes it professional, right? The last move that makes it professional. And I'm just get it back to kind of the way it was. I'm not going to overly stress trying to get it back to exactly to where it was, because that won't happen. But let's go ahead and take this little lumps out here. I always want to round it. Oh, one thing about the professional look, everything has to be balanced. So even though it's a different shape, it's rounded now, okay? Still an earring hook. All right, bet. All right. So what we want to do is when we make any earring hook, you never want to hammer the top part that the ear goes directly into. You always want to hammer right behind. When you hammer right behind, you flatten that wire and you make it no longer a wire that can be moved easily. But you don't want to make that hammer flatten the metal up this way so it won't cut the ear. You don't want to cut the ear, okay? So then that's it. Now look at it. Now look. See, it takes a lot of force to move it out, but that earring hook is not going to move by itself now, all right? So it's not as pretty as it was when I first did it. I kind of messed it up a little bit trying to be fancy in front of the camera or whatever, but there you have it. All right, you want to hammer just the back portion of it. All right, thanks a lot.